Howdy folks, and I hope you're all fit and well out there in collecting land, and welcome back to the channel for another 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. And today it's the turn of Premier Toys' take on Wes, aka Vernon Wells, from arguably the best Mad Max film ever made. The George Miller directed 1981 classic that is Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior. So, usual format folks, box, accessories, figure, then showcase at the end. But as always, before we dive in, a massive thank you to everyone who supported Go Figure, and please drop a like on this review and help other people find the channel. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the 1/6 scale goodness that we've got coming up on the channel, and trust me, there's a lot of it. So, regulars to the channel will already know about my love affair with all things Max, and the second installment in the series is sheer genius in my opinion. Minimal dialogue, brilliant characters, real stunts, no CGI, and a camera that virtually refuses to stand still. And it pretty much defined the genre of post-apocalyptic action movies. But that's enough of my wasteland ramblings. On to the box, and it's the usual story from Premier Toys. It's this shoebox design cardboard box. Let's have a quick look at it. We'll stop it from spinning. On the front you have a picture of the figure. This is not a shot of Vernon Wells, this is the figure. It says Marauder all the way across the front and down the sides as well, and you've got this sort of wasteland background going on. Premier Toys logo in the top right hand corner just says the Marauder around the left hand side. That's repeated around the right hand side. Top and bottom, on the bottom, not much to write home about at all. On the top it just says Premier Toys. Around the back we have once again the couple of shots of Wes himself. Both of these shots I believe are the figure. There's one of Wes at the top there and one of him on a dirt bike at the bottom here. Just a word of note, this isn't a shot from the film, because as far as I'm aware, Wes never rode a dirt bike in the film. I'm pretty certain Wes rode a Kawasaki Z1 that was modified, so this dirt bike doesn't actually appear in the movie itself, but I believe Premier Toys released a dirt bike as an accessory to go with the figure. One can only assume that maybe they had a lot of 1/6 scale dirt bikes lying around and they repurposed them, but yeah, not screen accurate, that one. And of course you get the usual warnings as well in the middle there. Don't piss this figure off or it might nearly blow himself up stealing your gasoline. So yeah, that's the box. So not a brand new figure, this one. Had it in the collection since it was released about a year ago, but we will do as we always do. We will dive down onto the table and have a look at all the accessories that come with your Wes figure. Okay folks, so here we are down on the table with all the accessories that come with your Wes figure. Before we dive in, I completely forgot to mention at the top there, this is an unlicensed figure from Premier Toys, hence why it says Marauder all over the box there and not Wes, and there's no Mad Max 2 logos or anything like that. Warner Brothers and George Miller have sort of seen fit not to release the licenses to produce 1/6 scale figures from the Mad Max series of movies in their infinite wisdom. Don't know why. I think I heard rumours that it was George Miller who wasn't keen on the idea of having 6 scale representations of his characters from his films, but whatever the reason, third parties seem to be the only ones producing Mad Max figures. You've got other companies involved. There's Present Toys, VTS do a line of Fury Road figures. It seems to be though that Premier Toys are doing the vast amount of the heavy lifting as far as unlicensed figures from the Mad Max movies go, but that's enough of my ramblings. Let's take a look at these accessories. Not a vast amount, quite Spartan this figure. We will start with the hands as we always do, you know me and my hands. There's 6 hands in total, a total of three pairs. There's a pair already on the figure, which we will take a look at when we bring the figure out. But you get a wide variety of hands. There are fisted hands, there are gripping hands, there are pointing finger hands to sort of replicate those scenes where Wes is pointing at Max when he gets marooned in the compound, and later on when Max is making a bid for freedom. But we'll grab a couple at random and see what kind of quality we're looking at here. Relatively simplistic, these hands, I have to be honest. They're not the best hands I've ever seen. But the sculpt's okay. You've got an attempt at fingernails there. The paint applications are okay with these fingerless gloves. This black paint application to make them look like leather. There is some creasing in there to give it that leather look. Overall, yeah, they're not the worst hands I've ever seen, but they're not brilliant. Let's be honest. They're pretty simplistic. Let's do the flexibility test. You've got a medium going on here, so hopefully you'll be able to grip the accessories without the need for a hairdryer or hot water. So yeah, that's one of the gripping hands. Let's take a look at one of the pointing finger hands, and it's the same story here. No real attempt at weathering on it. There's a little bit. There's sort of what looks like a sandy coloured dry brush over the top of the leather section. But overall, yeah, not bad. Not bad. We'll leave it at a not bad, and you get fisted hands as well. So a decent amount to go out there. So we'll pop those to one side. Let's have a quick look at this stand. Very, very simplistic here from Premier Toys. Just your simple, basic black oval. Nothing to write home about here. It would have been nice to maybe see a sticker on the top here with a picture on it, or maybe even an attempt at a diorama. But yeah, pretty basic. But it's just your simple black plastic oval with a standard issue crotch grabber that slots in the back there, and that's what you get for your stand. So we'll pop that to one side. Let's take a look at the weapons. Now we'll start with these arrows. Now there are actually 5 of these arrows, the crossbow arrows, the wrist crossbow arrows that come with the figure. They're all plastic. The reason there aren't 5 down here on the table is because the other 4 are in the thigh arrow holder. And trust me, it is a complete ball ache getting these arrows in there, so I didn't take them out. We'll have a look at them when we bring the figure out. But yeah, they're nicely done. All one piece of sculpted plastic. You've got some grey paint application on there, and a hair got in. Grey paint application on the feathers at the end there. And there is an attempt at weathering on the tip if the light's catching this. There's some silver dry brushing on the end there to give it that metallic look. So yeah, you get 5 of those, so pop that to one side. You get the cookery knife, and I don't mean chopping tomatoes, and nicely done this is too. All one piece of sculpted plastic. There's some wood effect paint applications on the hilt there, and some silver paint applications to pick out the bolts that are holding the wood on. The blade itself has been weathered, and there's grey and silver dry brushing on there to make it look used and weathered, and overall the proportions look nice, and the overall sculpt and paint application is pretty good for a third party. So yeah, that's the cookery knife, and you also get this pistol. I haven't got a clue what this, what make or model this gun is. I'm sure somebody will drop a comment in the comment section below. I am trying to educate myself regarding weapons, as regulars to the channel will know, and but this one is a mystery to me, and it's also a mystery to me actually why it's included, to be honest with you, because as far as my memory serves, Wes never used a weapon like this. He was all crossbow in the movie, or hands-on, shall we say. But yeah, Premier Toys have seen fit to include this, and this puts me more in mind of the weapon that the Humongous uses. But it's been included, and it's nice to see it's all made out of metal. It's die-cast metal with this silver paint application on there. There's no cocking action or trigger action in here. The barrel itself revolves, but because it doesn't cock, I can't tell you whether there are any sculpting bullets in there. It looks like they just put a silver paint application on there, but overall it's nicely done. Black plastic hilt there, and yeah, even if it's not particularly screen accurate, it's quite well made. So yeah, that's the handgun, and finally you get a chain. For when the Humongous has him on a short leash, shall we say. And it is what it says on the tin. It is a silver, well, it's a metal chain with some paint applications on there to give it that sort of grey metallic look. And yeah, overall, nicely done. So yeah, that's everything you get with your Wes figure. So without further ado, let's bring out the Mohawk marauder himself. Let's get him onto that stand, get him onto the turntable, and have a close-up look. Okay folks, so I have finished playing Mahjong and taking tea with the snakes, and here he is. It's Wes himself, onto the stand and onto the turntable. Can't give first impressions, as I mentioned at the top there. This isn't a new figure to me. I've had it since it was released, about a year or so ago. But 3,000th impression, shall we say, and I still think this is a pretty good figure from Premier Toys. The outfit looks pretty good, the head sculpt looks good, proportions, well, we'll talk about those. There are a few issues here. Straight away, that crossbow bolt holder has slid down his thigh there, but we'll do as we always do. We will take an up-close look at this guy, and we'll stop him from spinning first. What I am going to do is I'm going to remove that crossbow bolt from the wrist crossbow, let it fall out on its own. We'll get to why that happens, and I'm going to remove the cookery knife as well, simply because it doesn't grip very well in the hand, and they will fall off and disappear while we're taking an up-close look at him. So let's get him off the stand, start at the bottom, work our way up. We'll start out with these boots first of all. Screen accuracy is definitely there, with that section there with the 3 straps going on, the size. I will say straight away as well, the eagle-eyed or owners of this figure will probably have already noticed I've done some work to this figure. It's not finished yet, but the main changes I've made are the weathering. Straight out of the box, this figure is in need of weathering, and I've already done that. And there's a couple of other changes that I've made, but we'll take a look at those. But yeah, the boots themselves, screen accurate. The shin protectors are on point as well, and these are a soft plastic. Problem here is probably the main issue, I would say, is the actual articulation in these boots. It could really have done with a split cut boot design. What we've got here is the whole boot is solid plastic and then pegged straight into the leg, so there's no forward or backward movement here. There is a rotation going on, and there's a rotation in the knee area and the hip area as well, but little or no movement in the foot itself. Well, there's zero movement, let's call it what it is. There's zero movement in the foot, so can get in the way of posing and can be a bit problematic, but overall, yeah, the screen accuracy is on point. I have weathered these so they don't come out of the box like this, around the back these shin guards are attached by straps. You move up to the knee section, you've got these soft plastic knee pads. Once again, the screen accuracy is there. Let's check the articulation, and you can probably hear that is a very, very solid and squeaky ratchet joint going on there at the knee. Very, very squeaky. Perhaps not the best body in the world here from Premier Toys, and we'll talk about the body now. We might as well get it out of the way. Premier Toys tend to use the same type of bodies with their figures, and as you can see here, there's a gap there, and they use they're not seamless, obviously, and they do tend to show the joints. Probably the most obvious areas are down here in the crotch area, sort of in this gap between the codpiece and the top of the thigh, where you can see where the leg's attached. At the elbows, it becomes quite obvious as well, the joints there. I don't think it impacts the figure that much. I've considered doing a body swap with this, but never really got round to it. I think overall it's pretty good, but proportions wise, I would say one of the two is off. Either the head sculpt is slightly too large or the body is slightly too small. I'll put it back on the stand so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about here. It's good, but sometimes when my eye catches this, I see it and I think, hang on, something is slightly off here, and I think it's the body is slightly too small. I think they've got the head sculpt the right proportions, but I think the body itself is just a touch too small, and it can throw the figure off. But yeah, back to the legs. Now these chaps, are they pleather? Are they leather? That's a good question. I've got a feeling they could be leather, but correct me in the comment section below if I'm getting this wrong. They're nice and thick, and they do feel sturdy. If they are pleather, they've held up really, really well over the past 12 months. The stitch work is really nice. Obviously, some of this weathering that you're seeing here is my own doing. This is one of the gripes here, is this crossbow holder, this thigh crossbow holder doesn't want to stay in place. And these straps need tightening up and come loose very, very often, but yeah, you can probably see the weathering there that I've done. If you want an example maybe of the difference in straight out of the box and the work that I've done, is to look at the back of the chaps here. This is pretty much how it comes out of the box. A lot of the weathering down the back here I've done. and around the front as well. But overall, the stitch work on those chaps is really nice. That cob piece is a soft plastic and sculpted with some nice detailing on there with the silver studs picked out. We'll check the articulation at the top of the legs, and I think you're looking at a ball joint there. Yeah, it looks like a ball joint to me. So there's a good amount of lateral movement, but by the nature of these chaps, unfortunately, there isn't an awful lot of forward and backward movement. So yeah, this is a figure that really begs to be dynamically posed. So it's perhaps not the best for posing, unfortunately. There is some play in there, but not a vast amount. Excuse me. Around the back, you've got the this flap. Once again, pleather. Now that, if I actually look at that, that is actually material underneath there, so that isn't leather. But yeah, you've got this this flap, and then underneath that, this sort of black thong thing going on to cover his modesty, shall we say. Moving up to the waist area, let's check the articulation in the waist area. Not a huge amount going on there, unfortunately. There is articulation in the chest, and as you can see, there's a really good chest swivel there. I'm assuming that's on a ball joint underneath the body itself. But it does rub on the top of the body there if you're doing that on a regular basis. Forgot to have a look at the crossbow holder itself, or the crossbow bolt holder. This is sculpted plastic. It's a softer sculpted plastic, so there's some pliability in there. These straps need tightening up, but they're pleather with a buckle on, or leather with a buckle on. The weathering's nice on here, but as I mentioned in the accessory section, it's a real ball ache getting these bolts in and out of here. If I can angle this right, you'll see that the gaps in the top section here and in the bottom section here are really super small, and getting these bolts through can be quite a finicky operation. So I would say exercise caution if you're picking this figure up on taking these out and putting them in. You don't want to break them, but once they're in, they're in. So yeah, that's the bolt holder. Up to the abdomen section. Now this is rather unusual, because what you've got here is it's strapped on at the back, and it feels like a soft plastic, but when the further round you get here, I think this is actually glued on to the abdomen section. I did a little bit of weathering on here. There is some straight out of the box, but I added a little bit more. The black studs are picked out once again, but because of where it is on the body, that is really going to limit that waist swivel, or any movement of the waist swivel there, and you're going to have no chance of an ab crunch really. A little bit of movement, but not a huge amount. Moving up to the upper body, you have this sort of chest protector section going on, which is screen accurate. This is that soft plastic again. It's got real cord, or it actually looks more like string than cord, which is tying it together. But once again, screen accurate, and the studs have been picked out with the silver paint dots there to make it look studded. On top of this sort of torso section, you've got the two shoulder pads. One of them is actually sculpted in and attached to the breastplate chest protector thing. Is silver, and it's got some paint applications on there to dirty it up a little bit. The second shoulder pad is actually attached by a strap underneath and is free floating. I dirtied this up a little bit, but there was some weathering on it out of the box, and it pretty much will flap around all over the place. Underneath, you've got that crop top t-shirt thing going on. Once again, screen accurate. This is just black. Nice stitching on there, and it's a black cotton. And once again, some weathering on there, which I've done. On the bicep sections, you've got these sections of material which are actually glued on to the biceps themselves. It would have been nice if these had been perhaps free floating, because then you could have moved them down to cover up these rather ugly elbow joints, but it is what it is. The forearms have these protectors on them, these forearm protectors, which are made of the same plastic that the shin guard is, and echo that style. Once again, I have weathered these, but this is all one piece with this hand protector at the end there. And these are the other two hands that we talked about. This is the gripping hand, and we've got a fisted hand on the other side. The crossbow itself, the wrist crossbow, is actually quite nicely done, and it's on. It's a hard plastic on top of, once again, that slightly softer plastic to look like leather, and then it's got the straps on underneath. But the proportions are right, and there's some nice weathering on there. Getting these, as you saw there right at the top, getting these bolts to actually stay on is damn near impossible. The only thing that's going to hold them in place is gravity. There is a little, and I'm trying to do this on camera, there is a little sort of section at the back there, if the camera will focus, where the rear of the bolt is supposed to slot in. And then there's this section here where the body is supposed to clip in, but they don't fit, to be honest. It would be nice to see them holding, but I mean, gravity is the only thing holding that bolt in, so it will very easily fall off. The string of the crossbow itself is actually it's string. It's not the tightest in the world. It's a little bit on the loose side, but from a distance it's quite effective, although it's sagging ever so slightly there. Let's take a look around the back. Around the back, you've got that section where the chest plate meets, and these two straps are actually, they look like they've been stuck on. They aren't sculpted plastic. They are the same material as the rest of the strapping on the figure itself, but they feel like they've been stuck on. And then you've got these straps underneath the arms as well. Overall, though, pretty impressive. Second modification, before we dive into this head sculpt, and I'm just going to move this camera back so I can drop him into the gap here. The feathers. Now, straight out of the box, I have to say, these feathers were way too big. Excuse me, way too long as well. I do apologise. It's winter here and I've acquired a cough. It's the Go Figure cough. Yes, the feathers themselves I've actually had to trim down. They were way too long and there were too many of them, so I've thinned them out and I've actually made them shorter. He looked not dissimilar. He looked like he would have been more at home at the Moulin Rouge straight out of the box, so I have trimmed those down. But let's take a look at this head sculpt. Now, I think, and I've got to say, I think at the price point and for a third party, I think they've done a pretty good job here. You've got this rooted hair going on, which is screen accurate. The colours are right with that red flash mohawk. I think the way their rooted hair's been done is perhaps not the best in the world, as you can see where each individual strand has been pushed into the scalp. If I can get this in, but and you can see that at the back there. But as I say, third party and to a budget, it's not bad. I would say as well, be super careful with this figure, and you can probably already see it on my fingers. The dye they've used in this mohawk is not the most stable in the world. I don't know whether it's the dye or whether it's the type of artificial hair that they've used, but the colour wants to come out of here and it wants to get on your fingers and onto everywhere else as well, so watch out for that. But the actual head sculpt, and let's get right in on this, I think the head sculpt is pretty good. I think the skin texturing and tone is right. I think as a likeness of Vernon Wells as Wes, I think they've absolutely nailed it there. I think it's unmistakable. Is it 100%? No. But is it Vernon Wells from Mad Max 2? Is it Wes? Yes, it is. I like the fact that you've got some shadow going on the head here where it's been shaved. It's not super clean, so they have differentiated between the scalp and paint applications on the face there. The eyes are pretty good. They could be better. They're not the glassiest I've ever seen. The detailing is there. It's not up to Hot Toy standards, shall we say, but it's a pretty. Premier Toys have made a fist of it, shall we say? I don't think the white paint applications across the forehead here and across the nose area are predominant enough, and that's on the list of jobs to do with this figure, is to make that white section that runs down underneath the eyes, across the bridge of the nose, and then round up the other side, and it should be across the forehead as well. It's not pronounced enough. If you are a bit, as I say, seen the movie more times than I care to mention, and that white section is more pronounced in the film. But they've got the goatee beard there, that little sort of chin beard thing going on, which is nice, and I like the expression that they've gone for there with those slightly gritted teeth and that aggressive look. So yeah, there you have it, folks. Let's get him back onto the stand and going for final thoughts. Let's just check. This is not actually a fixed neck head sculpt. What you've got is an independent head here as well. Forgot to mention that. Now the range of motion in this head. Now I'm going to be super careful here grabbing hold of this head because I don't want to get that purple stuff all over my fingers. But yeah, you've got some right and left motion going on there. If I can get my sausage fingers out of the way. Not an awful lot of forward or backward movement. In fact, there's none at all, really, of which to speak there. But yeah, that's the Vernon Wells head sculpt. So let's get him back on the stand and go in for final thoughts on this guy. Go for a more neutral pose now we've removed his weapons now. It's going to be a tough one, this. There's a lot of good stuff going on here, I have to be honest. Let's start him spinning again. Let's start with the good stuff. The good stuff, the outfit is pretty much screen accurate, give or take. I think the head sculpt is not the best I've ever seen, but I think it's a very, very good likeness of Vernon Wells as Wes. I think the accessories are good, if a little bit meager. Downsides, straight out of the box, it needed more weathering. And probably the biggest thing, which I'm not too bothered about, but probably my biggest bugbear is that when I look at it, those proportions are slightly off. Is it the body being too small, the head being slightly too large? I don't know, maybe it's just me. If it is me, please correct me in the comment section below, but it just feels like one of the two is slightly off. So yeah, downsides, needs the weathering. That body, we've got to remember it's coming in at a price point, but that body is not ideal. I don't like to see ugly joints like that, but at this price point, you know, I'm not expecting a medical grade silicone body, yeah, those are the downsides. But overall, I think it's a pretty good figure. I'm going to give this a score out of 10. I'm going to give this a 7.5, an 8 on a good day. Excuse me. But we'll go with 7.5. I think it needed more weathering, and I have done some of that, as I mentioned before. It needed these feathers trimming. I think the articulation is not the best in the world. I think the body as well it could have been better. But overall, I think, as I said before, at the price point, I think Premier Toys have made a fist of it. It's not on the same level as, say, their Immortan Joe, which from Mad Max Fury Road, which I still think is one of Premier Toys' best Mad Max figures, but it's up there, solid 7.5. So there you have it, folks. 7.5 for Wes there. What are your thoughts on this piece? Is it something you've got in your collection? Is it something you're thinking of picking up? What are your thoughts on the Mad Max movie? What are your thoughts on Mad Max 2? What are your thoughts on Wes and on Vernon Wells? Nothing is off menu, so please drop a comment in the comment section below. And I suppose all that remains for me to say is, oh no, nearly forgot what's coming up on the channel. We have a raft of stuff in the 1/6 scale world. We've got new reviews from InArt, Pure Arts, Caustic Plastic, Hot Toys, Susu Toys, VTS, Org Toys, Present Toys, and more Premier Toys as well. So yeah, the list is exhaustive as far as that goes. We've also got more episodes of Don't Make Me Choose, where I pit two similar collectibles or action figures against each other. We've got more episodes of Grail or Fail, where we revisit a classic to find out if it's still a classic today. More showcases, more quarter scale figures, more statues, just a raft of stuff coming up. So as I mentioned at the top there, please mash that subscribe button and hit that bell notification icon so you're not missing any of the good stuff. And I suppose all it remains for me to say is a massive thank you for watching from Wes and myself. Take care of yourselves, happy collecting, and it's over to the showcase.